All right. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our session, Talent in Unexpected Places. We're just going to take a couple minutes to introduce ourselves and the panel here, and then we're going to get into talking about our topic today. We've got a nice intimate group, so I encourage everyone to throw in questions into the chat or anything else you want to know more about, and I'll work them into our discussion. To start, my name is David Naczycz. I am the owner of North America Tour Hub. We're a tour operator in the United States, operating across the country. We do day tours and are now getting into multi-day tours too. I'm also a board advisor with Travel Unity and a committed supporter of theirs. And relevant to this session, I am in charge of recruitment and hiring for our business. And needless to say, 2021 is a struggle, as it was for many people in the travel industry. So I was as excited to participate in this discussion as anyone, because my own business really depends on figuring out these questions and figuring out where we can find good talent. And I do, I think even before meeting everyone and talking to everyone, the premise of having to look at new places made sense to me, because the old places weren't working anymore. So that's me, that's why I'm here. But let me give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. I guess we'll start with Alessandra. So.
Hi, thank you, David, and thank you, Ronnie, for the invitation. So welcome, everyone. My name is Alessandra Alonso. I am the founder and MD of social enterprise Women in Travel. We economically empower women using travel, tourism, hospitality as a force for good. And practically, we support women trying to match them with employers or providing enterprising skills so that they can earn and gain economic independence for themselves. We've been going since 2017, so this is our 5th year. And I have been working with women since the early noughties. So I have about 25 years in the sector and over 15 years supporting women across the travel and tourism industry. So very much looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. And Klaudija, why don't you go next?
Yeah, thank you so much, David and Ronnie, and welcome everyone. So my name is Klaudija. I am currently a business mentor to a few social enterprises. Women in Travel is one. Another one is dedicated to war veterans, and another one dedicated to LGBT community. I work for a travel tech company. Oops, my computer is connected to my phone, so apologies for that. Yeah, another social enterprise for LGBT community. I do some work in travel tech, but my background actually is in tour operation. I worked for a day tour company for 12 years around the world, working with a lot with social enterprises, being involved in training guides, getting guides, developing new product, working with big brands like New York Times, Amazon, Google, and so on. So yeah, very excited to be part of this panel.
Great, thank you. And then finally, Sefanit, please.
Thank you, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Sefanit, and I'm originally Ethiopian, and I've been trained to be a tour guide. So I'm a tour guide now, that's all.
And where are you living and working now?
Well, I'm in London, and yeah, I work in London.
All right, great, thank you. So the theme of our session is talent in unexpected places. So we have Sefanit, if you haven't figured that out, is our talent. She came from an unexpected place, which I will let Alessandra talk a little bit more about. Alessandra, can you tell us about the program that Sefanit was a part of?
Sure. As I mentioned, Women in Travel works with women who in some cases have sort of come from diverse background. Most cases are very diverse. Sometimes they come from underprivileged background, or perhaps sort of from unusual background of sorts. And we support them, we provide training and mentoring with a view to then, as I was saying in the introduction, match them, give them the opportunity to meet employers, or sort of set up business, micro businesses and sort of freelance businesses. Now, in the case of Sefanit, what we did, and I guess Klaudija played a massive role in this, and also why she's here, we actually gave Sefanit the opportunity to be trained as a tour guide. So ourselves, together with sort of the tour operator that Klaudija used to work for at Intrepid, we organized training that covered a whole series of skills. Employability in the first place. Sefanit wasn't coming from the travel and tourism industry, so there were, I guess, sort of opportunity to learn about the sector, but also about things such as, you know, communication and presentation, and even dealing with interviews and sort of employers. But then sort of Sefanit went through a much more specialist training with the support of Klaudija and the support of Urban Adventure Intrepid to become a tour guide. And that's what she is doing today as well, what she's doing currently. So that was the program. She wasn't the only one, and there were other two ladies. And the whole idea, I guess, is that you have sort of an opportunity to showcase, yes, your city, but also within your city, your community and your own diverse cultural background. Therefore, and perhaps Sefanit can tell us a little bit more about that later, but the idea is that, you know, you are going to see things and experience things that are on your doorstep, but are potentially things that you have never come in contact with and never had the chance to enjoy.
Yeah, brilliant idea. What inspired Women in Travel to do a program like this, and how do you identify candidates for the program?
Yeah, so our candidates come from, I guess, a hugely diverse range of sort of pathways, if you like. So at the one end, you know, we have a number of charitable partners who sometimes refer women to us. And this could be women who've experienced some kind of a challenge or difficulties. And, you know, they are at the point where they want to go back into the workforce. And, you know, they might be refugees, for example, or, you know, there might be perhaps women who are, you know, might have even sort of be homeless at some point, or women who have had to face some kind of bereavement, for example, and therefore there might be a mental health issues involved. So quite a broad range of charities. And then the women who are ready to work, they are referred to us, and we speak to them and understand where their needs are. So do they want to work for an employer? Are they, you know, what are they more specifically interested in within the sector? Because the sector is quite huge and we cover the whole spectrum. And then sort of we direct them after the training, we try and facilitate, you know, their the sort of either their employment or their enterprise in the way that is most suitable and sort of most liked by them. And I guess that there are then women who self-refer, because there is also an element of word of mouth. And of course, we also promote our, you know, our work. And some of what we do is supported by funders. So European funders, we are also based in London. So European funders or UK funders, and therefore they also help us to identify sort of the right women for our program. In terms of the idea, I guess that I can't really take the glory of that, because it was much more to do with Klaudija, in that I was talking to the company about employing women, but then Klaudija came up with the idea that perhaps because this happened during lockdown, where, you know, and in the middle of the pandemic, when nobody was really recruiting, but quite the opposite, that might be an opportunity to do something quite different and quite unique. And it might be something that we can do during lockdown, because I guess the business was less busy in other area, but also preparing to return to being busy and to sort of busy seasons.
Great.
So Klaudija can tell you more about that.
Yeah. And Klaudija, tell us what inspired you to suggest this program, and why you think the program is important.
Yeah. It really was, I was introduced to Alessandra as a, industry colleague, just to have a conversation. Last year, I was still working for Urban Adventures / Intrepid. I've been, as I said, with the company for many years. And due to pandemic, but also other stuff, the business was really going through hardship. And we were, to be honest, in the middle of closing down and having the transition, which I was leading. And that was a really emotional journey, especially when you are part of a business for such a long time and it's a close network, and you see the work that everyone is doing, how can it affect local partners, local destinations, local communities, and suddenly you are in the middle of the pandemic and just everything is collapsing, and you have to close down and finish all the work that everyone was doing. So I was really looking, and it might sound a bit selfish, but I was just really looking something that I could again build and contribute. So I was speaking to Alessandra to potentially be a mentor, because she was looking for mentors. We started talking, and I thought that this could be a really good opportunity, because in the previous years with Urban Adventures, we already worked with social enterprises, and we built experiences around the values and the cause of those social enterprises. The product range was called In Focus and won a lot of awards. So talking to Alessandra, she explaining about the women and how passionate they are and how they want to get the opportunity. And I thought, okay, we're in the middle of pandemic. No one is really hiring. We are not having any, business, no bookings, no running tours. Now it's the perfect opportunity to try something new. So we were just winging it, to be honest. We just brought all the know-how and the training from Urban Adventures and Intrepid, and started having twice a week training with the ladies online. They were in London, I was in Slovenia, and this is how it started. I then introduced another colleague that she came in, and yeah, we first thought it's gonna take maybe 3 months. At the end, it took us about almost a year. And what I found really interesting and so inspiring is that even if the ladies didn't have any experience and knowledge in travel industry, it was actually their ideas, what kind of tour they want to run and what the topic should be. Maybe we guided them a little bit, saying, you guys come from different cultures, heritage, maybe that could be a really good topic, because London is such a multicultural city, and it should be very interesting for the locals, but also for tourists when they will come again to London. But really the ideas and the research and the whole kind of building of the tours were there. So yeah, very inspiring. And I think just seeing the ladies, recognizing and then relearning their heritage and where they're coming from, because they had to know more. So they were able to then present that and guide and present to guests. It was just, yeah, amazing. So really it was just trying to come up with something positive in the middle of a very bad time.
Yeah, I can understand that. Certainly my activity, as Ronnie can attest, ramped up with Travel Unity right about that same time. So yeah, probably for similar reasons, I think. Sefanit, tell us about the program. how did it help you? Was it easy? Was it difficult? Did you, how would you describe it?
Well, the program was good. I actually enjoyed it because I have learned so much through the training. The training was really important, really. I have learned so much about my country, something I didn't know before. And I thought it was really interesting. And I want to give back to this community, somebody, you know, people who lives different from my background, like London. So I wanted to be the ambassador. So the program was very good. Yeah.
And what was the experience that you created? Can you, I don't know if you created one or more than one. Or...
Oh yeah, I've done so many tours. And
okay.
everybody who came on the tour loved it. They love the food, they love the hospitality, and they love the heritage. And I thought it was something I really want to do. And I want to show my culture, you know, like my background. Actually, I want to do food. Food was very passionate for me, something I want to show, because I know we have such really amazing food, like healthy, organic, and everybody loves that, you know, the health aspect. And we were talking to Alessandra about food. It was not about the tour guide. It was completely different. So then of course, they came up with the idea to be a tour guide. And I was like, yeah, why not? I didn't know what was a tour guide as well anyway. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And Alessandra explained it, and we started the training. It became something very interesting. And actually, it was like, it's not something, you know, like an easy job. It's very difficult. You have to do the training. It's like you have to have, there is the rules you have to follow. Like you have to put things in places. It's not something you just take guests and, you know, they enjoy it. No, the training helped me to do that. So I thought I will be definitely a good example for women who have the same background as me, or who doesn't have this kind of opportunity to be like a tour guide or anything else really, for that matter. It doesn't have to be only a tour guide. Anything that's like, you know, will boost up your confidence. It gives me a lot of confidence to be like outside with people who have different background from mine, and tell them about my country. I felt home. I loved it. It was really, it's really amazing. I would definitely advise anybody who wants to do it, they should go ahead and do the training properly. Take serious the training. The training is really serious. Take that serious, and yeah, you can show your country, you know, like you don't have to travel far. Like we are in London, and from London to Ethiopia is nearly 8,000 miles, which is about 7 hours flight. And I actually find my home here in London. And yeah, we do it in Shepherd's Bush Market, which is something, you know, amazing. 2 hours and a half. People love it. They can go and see. I think there is a review, 5-star review. Yeah.
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 It sounds great. I would like to take the tour the next time I come to London for sure.
Definitely, you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. What are your plans now going into the future? Do you have plans? And if so, can you share them with us?
Well, my plan is to expand this tour, like to bring a lot of people to involve in this tour and see Ethiopia. And personally, I want to get my own, I want to do my own business. Like I can be a tour operator myself, you know, I don't have to through sorry, woman in trouble or like our venture. I can do it myself. I'm actually at school. So when I finish my school and, you know, do everything properly, experience everything. Yeah, I want to do my own tour operator. I want to get my own business. That's my plan.
That's great. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I have every confidence that you will be highly successful.
Thank you. I think so, yeah.
Yeah, this is great. And Alessandra, now that the program, you've been through sort of one round of the program, right? So you're going to be doing further rounds.
Well, I really, really hope so. I mean, the plan is to develop it. I think, you know, micro-entrepreneurship, it's important. It's an important aspect of the sector. I mean, there is the whole thing about, you know, talent being so scarce. So what we want is for talent to stay in the industry. I was only reading today about something called the Great Resignation, that has been dubbed the Great Resignation, and apparently 40% of the worldwide workforce is looking at to move on or to change their career. And I think, you know, this is in a way worrying, in that, you know, some of that workforce will be from travel and tourism, but it's also an opportunity, because we as a sector need to attract, you know, we need to attract all the talent we can get. You know, we all know that how difficult it is to recruit at the time. So if we can develop our talent and sort of give them, first of all, an opportunity to understand, you know, how the many opportunity that this sector offers, you know, whether you want to be a freelance tour guide, whether you want to have your own business, or whether you want to be employed, you know, the beauty is that there are pools of talents that perhaps are not visible to industry. But if the industry has the mindset and sort of the, if you like, the interest in searching behind and beyond the obvious, this talent can be found. And I think Sefanit is very much, you know, the proof that you don't have to have many years of experience, and you don't have to have necessarily sort of a background in the sector, but you have to be sort of open and flexible to recognize that talent exists in places where perhaps you haven't looked. And so for us as women in travel, the whole point is that we are now starting to see employers and businesses saying to us, you know, maybe there are women from your own communities who would be interested in working with us or for us in whatever shape. And I think we will be much, much richer for that as an industry, because there are so many, you know, there is so much storytelling, really powerful one, that makes, you know, makes the industry and sort of what we have to offer so much more interesting.
Yeah. I think that there's real power just in bringing people into the travel industry who are not from the travel industry, that have diverse backgrounds, experiences, and things. I think it's part of the vitality of what we do. And I think it's important.
And if I may, I mean, you know, our customers are changing, and we need to see, you know, they want to see themselves reflected in the people that serve them, that entertain them. You know, I've just come back from a conference where sort of I gave a keynote around the imperative of inclusion. And the whole point is that, you know, in that case, it was the city of Madrid starting to think, hey, how do I attract some sort of different travelers who have a lot of money to spend, but perhaps, you know, don't choose Madrid, or don't travel to us because they don't see themselves represented. So I think there are so many aspects around talent that really need to be considered. It's about the customer, it's about putting our own house in order, and it's about enriching the sector with, you know, a diversity of experiences and stories that make the product so much better.
And is there what did you learn and take away from this program that you could share with everyone else that might help guide them in doing something similar where they are?
Well, I guess that, you know, we've been working with women for, 5 years, personally 15. We have a really good understanding of the type of unexpected talent that will work well in a way in industry. And I think there has to be an understanding and a certain amount of sort of, I guess, emotional intelligence and, and flexibility when you are approaching talent that perhaps is not used to work or hasn't worked in this kind of circumstances. So spotting the right unexpected talent is or identifying and accompanying that sort of the right talent takes a little bit of expertise, I guess. And, we are learning all the time, but certainly we've gone up a little bit the learning curve over the last sort of 5 years since starting Women in Travel. I guess that, there must be organizations like ours everywhere who work with women, and charities who have a range of sort of visibility of a range of talent that perhaps, will not necessarily knock at your door because they don't have the confidence, and I can't help but rejoicing when I think of Sefanit, and just how confidently she's spoken now, and, how she's gonna march on and do what she wants to do. And if I think back perhaps a couple of years, where she started, the situation was probably quite different, and it's brilliant, to see this now. And so I think, there are probably organizations that work with all sorts of sort of talent that could be approached. And then I think it's about giving them the opportunity. And I say this not just as tour guides, but also as employees, for example, giving them the opportunity to to experience what it means to work in the travel and tourism sector. So often we do what we call immersion days, where we take the sort of a cohort of women into a business who wants to eventually perhaps recruit or work with the women, just to give them a sense, to give them a sort of a head start in terms of what does it mean to work in this business, or what does it mean to work for this business? And, what are the career, what are the opportunities? And I think that's very important, because often the women don't even have a sense of what's possible. I mean, certainly Sefanit said it, I wasn't thinking of tour guide. I didn't even know that that was a profession. And that's the case for, a lot of the women. So in a sense, we are also really encouraging a better understanding of the sector that is needed, because people, often when you talk about working in travel and tourism, people think making beds and cleaning rooms, and that's where their knowledge stops. So there's quite sort of, it's a discovery journey really for the talent, for the unexpected talent. But it's one that is also very, if you like, very inspirational, and on both sides, and also very, very encouraging, because the women are, generally speaking, when they go through this type of opportunities and experiences, they become very keen to then work.
Great. Klaudija,
this is Jason Thurston calling. I'm part of St. Joe's through John Dillon Park. Yeah, good. It's going really good. There's a conference going on online about.
I think that, yeah. He's not talking to us.
Hey,
we do have a question from another attendee, though, David.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm going to get that question right after this, but I just wanted to ask Klaudija, from an employer standpoint, for anyone on this call that is an employer thinking, how can I partner with nonprofits or other organizations to do something like this, to like actually identify talent that's out there in the community and bring them into my organization? What do I have to be thinking about? How do I do it?
It's really just about reaching out and having an open mind, doing a bit of research. There are a lot of social enterprises that care about, people coming from difficult background and providing them support into getting back into the work, or particularly about the confidence. So, we talked about women in travel because this is specifically for travel, but just today I had a meeting with another social enterprise, and they're called Fighting Chance, and the guys support war veterans, but also then other members that maybe would come from, let's say, they ex-offenders or really difficult background, and through the boxing training and program, and then offering the confidence and recruitment advice, bringing all these people closer to start working again and giving them opportunities to find job. Now, it can be different different industries, potentially security, travel as well, maybe technology, maybe more, in-person working. I don't know how is it called, the word, but it just really show cases that you can get the talent everywhere. You just need to have an open mind and think outside the box a little bit more.
Yeah. The question is, what are some non-traditional ways to find job seekers, and how do you attract people not represented in the workplace? And I think obviously we're showcasing one here, which is to partner with an NGO or a nonprofit that is advocating for a group of people. There are many that have been at this conference. There's some on this call, and there's Women in Travel, and there's others. So I think there are many examples of that. And I think what Klaudija is talking about is, it's just a matter of reaching out and establishing a relationship. I think the other thing that's clear to me, and just listening to you guys, is there's an investment. There's an investment of time, possibly money. It's not just, you can't just knock on a door and say, give me the people. They're not sitting there waiting for you to show up and give them a job. There is some work that has to be done, right?
It really showcases that, we as companies talk so much about diversity and gender equality, and we want to be inclusive, but a lot of times it just ends up with words. No actions. But if you want to make a change, you have to invest something in it. You have to invest time, sometimes money, as you said, but just more so time and patience and willingness to help the enterprises, the communities, to these people that are coming from, different background, that they just need a little bit more time and a little bit more care and attention. But, the outcome is so rewarding for everyone, as Alessandra said. It's just so inspiring, inspiring for us that are helping, inspiring for people like Sefanit that had on opportunities, for companies that will employ these people. And, I feel we're just adding small steps to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to, I was going to kick the question back to the group too, because I know from being at this conference all week that many of you have programs that are similar to this, or have participated in programs similar to this. So if anyone in the group has done things like this, we'd love to hear your story too. But Alessandra, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that one of the things also that, as Klaudija said, the outcome, often it's also, in terms of your employer's brand, it's true you are investing. But actually, if you look at what makes people stay loyal to a company and remain in a company, once you are past the salary, of course you need one. What are the things that are going to make the difference, especially to, Generation Z, not even considering the millennia anymore, but the younger, Generation Z and Generation Alpha. If you look at those, what often they say, they're going to ask you about your diversity. They're going to ask you about your inclusion, and they want to feel proud of working for you. So these are the kind of things, this kind of program, are the kind of things that actually will strengthen your employer's branding. And also, in addition to this, I think it's also important the fact that, obviously, a lot of the women that we see, for example, employed in businesses, they really are grateful. They really are enthusiastic. They tend to be very committed because they really value the opportunity. They don't take it for granted. So there is also a, if you like, a longevity in terms of, we know that this is an industry that often has quite a high turnover. So what we find is that, and I must say, we haven't quite measured it because of the pandemic and everything that has happened in recent time, but I know that overall, when we put women into jobs, coming from our training and our program, they tend to stay.
Absolutely. Did anyone in the audience want to share an example from their own organization or community or experiences that are an example of finding talent in unexpected places? All right, I will give my own example then. So, and maybe this is interesting because this is kind of the flip side of this argument. We, some years ago, actually, we attempted to participate in a high school internship program that was built for high school students in New York City who were coming from poor, disadvantaged families living in the public housing here in New York City. And we attempted to host one or two of them in our company to teach them about the travel industry. I think, we had them for a short amount of time, but a few of the things we learned was, you do need to prepare to work with people from different and diverse backgrounds. They are not going to just be able to plug in to the work that everyone else is doing right away. And they have different experiences, they have different needs, different ways of doing things. And there has to be a learning curve to that. There has to be a period of time where you're devoted to understanding how to work together. And Ronnie put it in the chat, understanding people's capacity and then going beyond our own expectations or biases for how people work or how work should be done, or these things, these all need to be challenged. So there's just as much work for us as employers on ourselves as there is on preparing people from unexpected places to come and work in the travel industry. So that was my experience and our experience in working on a program like this. So going forward, what would each of you like to see happen in the travel industry as we move through 2021 and into 2022 in terms of unexpected talent joining this industry, or people looking for unexpected talent?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking all three.
The panel,
So,
everyone?
Yep, the whole panel.
Okay. Claudia, do you want
to? Just more stories. I think that really makes the difference in terms of the product. Coming from the tour operations side and specifically, tours and activities, and in the last few years before pandemic, we saw this boom of so many new tour operators. But what we also saw, it was a similarity, just because the industry was driving that more the commercial side. I'm not saying not the commercial side, the commercial product. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but if we want to, change and do things differently, we as operators and like working with social enterprise, we need to drive the change. We are the educators to the travelers and the guests. Sometimes you have to show them what is possible if they, they don't know what they don't know. So yeah, I just want more of these stories and more of these opportunities, because that inspires innovation in different type of product. And educates and inspires then the customer and the traveler.
Stephanie, do you want to say anything?
You go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess that I feel quite strongly that, you know, the time has come to take diversity, equity, inclusion seriously. We've had 2 years of pandemic. We had all sorts of things happening, Black Lives Matters, Me Too. I would like to see DEI transition from a fashion or fad to, you know, something that it's really strongly linked to operational performance in businesses, and therefore unexpected talent, which, you know, it has to happen because it makes commercial sense. It has to happen because, you know, our customers are diverse, but it's also happening because it's seen as part of sustainability and the bigger picture. So we are not talking about anything different. I mean, sustainability, sustainable, you know, millennium goals, they are, you know, gender equity and decent work and, you know, all those objectives that make up sustainable development. DI has to be considered closely linked to it. And this is all about also social impact. So to me, it's about thinking as a company, what matters? Well, DI should be, you know, not just something that you do when you can, or because it looks good, or because it's a tick in the box. And therefore, as part of that, looking at your talent management, your talent strategies, and considering how you want to go sort of forward with those, it has to be a very much core, a business core.
Sefanit, what would you like to see happen in the industry going forward?
I think I would say the stereotype, like equality, woman equality, like I never thought there's a tour guide, woman tour guide. I never see one anyway. So like in my country, this tour guide is not like a professional job. It's like everybody's a tour there, because as long as you have a tourist, you are a tour guide. So I think people should like take it professionally and do some training before they become a tour guide. I would like to see that, you know, men thinks they can only do this it's a man job, not a woman job, maybe. I think that's like, that should, if that change, I would like to see that change. Empowering women, yeah.
All right, that sounds good. And then I thought as a nice way to tie this up before we invite questions, Sefanit, if you could share with us one of the stories you tell about Ethiopian culture in London. Maybe a short story to share with the group, and then we'll see if anyone has any questions after that.
Okay. I mean, you mean like the story I told in the tour, or just something that
Could be
happened?
something you tell in a tour, or it could be whatever, you know, something else if you want to.
Okay. Okay. For example, very interesting for me was about the Bob Marley story. I didn't know Bob Marley, like, you know, Bob Marley, the famous singer, Jamaican Bob Marley, you know, the Rastafarian. I didn't know he was like Rastafarian. He's Ethiopian king, very, you know, Haile Selassie. His original name was Rastafari. I didn't know like they followed that religion, you know, the Rastafarian religion. I didn't know it was originated from Ethiopia. And I find it quite interesting. And in the market, Shepherd's Bush market, there's a place they sell only like Jamaican stuff, like Rastafarian stuff, t-shirt, guitar and stuff. So I just point out that place. I take them there. They watch the, you know, whatever, how they do. Not everybody knows Bob Marley. Not everybody looks. They probably know the music, but maybe not. No. So like his body was buried in Ethiopia, the cathedral. Where the king was buried, and so every tourist who visit Ethiopia will go and see him, his funeral, like his funeral, whatever. Yeah, And in the middle of the town in Addis Ababa, the capital city, there is a big statue of him standing with the guitar. So everybody goes saying hello to him and sing with him, like just a statue standing there with the guitar. So I tell people, like, when you go to visit Ethiopia next time, you make sure you go and see the statue and say hello, you know? Yeah, I find it very interesting. For me, it's like, I didn't know like Rastafarian is originated from Ethiopia. Another story is the Afar, the northern part, northeast Ethiopia is called Afar, and it's not far from my hometown. And that is the hottest place on planet Earth. Do you know that? Yeah.
I did not know that, no.
Oh, yeah, it's the hottest planet on, yeah, they have volcanoes and they live in farming salt. I find that very interesting. Yeah. I make sure I go there next time. It's quite hot, like maybe 70+ degrees, but I'll definitely go. It's not far from my hometown. It's maybe like 100 kilometers or something, but I never knew that. So I find it quite interesting. So we talk about that.
Wow. Those are all, and I didn't know any of that actually. So that was all fascinating. Now I've got to go to Ethiopia.
Oh, you haven't been there? You must go.
I've
It's
never
quite
been to
beautiful.
Ethiopia, so I have to put that on my list. Thank you, Sefanit, for those stories. Those are brilliant. Did anyone have any questions or comments that they wanted to share or ask before we wrap things up here in the session?
David,
Yes.
I'd be quite interesting to, I know that we've asked, but I wonder whether anyone can share their attempt to find talent in unexpected places, or, you know, in a way, what they are thinking around, you know, what's going to happen in the next 6 months. So as travel resume, they might have downsized. Now they have to sort of upsize again. Where is that talent going to come from? And how quickly do they think that they can come up to speed? I would be really curious to understand this, because of course we are on the other side of the pond. And as some of you will know, we not only have had a pandemic, but the United Kingdom has left the European Union, the so-called Brexit you might have sort of heard about. Now that has really accelerated, well, the pandemic has accelerated the speed at which many sort of people from other countries on the continent have left the United Kingdom. And historically, a lot of the workforce from the sector has come via Spain, Italy, and perhaps, you know, Portugal and some of the Eastern European countries. So that's why this is also so urgent for us, so critical, because, you know, we really have lost, and I think in London we lost between around 500,000 workers, most of which were in the hospitality and tourism sector. So, you know, if you think about your own situation, you know, some of this may also apply. You know, you may have not had a Brexit, but you might have other circumstances through which, you know, people are leaving the sector, and the pandemic has really accelerated. So it would be great to hear, you know, your viewpoint on the other side of the pond and where you think talent is going to come from.
Yeah, if anyone would like to share, we'd love to hear from you. Just turn your video on or raise your hand or something, or just start talking. I know for myself, my view of it is that travel is going to continue to return in terms of volume and business, and the need for hiring is going to continue to grow. I do think there was a huge loss in the industry from people leaving travel because of the pandemic. So those people, for the most part, are gone. So it's about restoring the pool of people in travel. So we have to look in unexpected places, I think, in order to do that. There's just no other way. I do think the thing you mentioned earlier about the Great Resignation is hopefully that's an opportunity. You know, because I really feel like travel's an amazing industry to work in. It's fun. The people are friendly. It's great. You know, it's in many cases, it's not a desk job. You're out like Sefanit in the city, in the community. And I feel like most of the great resignation are people that are leaving jobs in industries that aren't fun or that are high pressure or that they're stuck in an office all day. And the pandemic awakened them to how that really just wasn't how they wanted to live. So to me, travel is a great industry for people to move into after they leave another job. It's just so much fun. But I'll just throw it out one more time to see if anyone wants to comment. Comments going once, going twice. No, okay. Well, I want to thank all of our panelists for being with us today and sharing their experience, which was amazing. It's an amazing program. I look forward to its continuation, expansion. We'll certainly be looking to do something similar in the US ourselves this year as North America Tour Hub. Thank you, Sefanit, for sharing your experience and the stories, which were great. And I'm excited to visit London and Ethiopia now. And that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.